The best place to look for alien life isn't a sunlit planet like ours. It's the last place you'd ever think to check, the pitch-black bottom of an ocean, sealed under miles of solid ice, on a moon so far from the sun that daylight there is fainter than a full moon is here. And there isn't just one of them. Right now we've found 8 worlds in our own solar system hiding liquid water, where liquid water should be impossible, some holding more of it than every ocean on Earth combined. We're going through every single one, from the famous ocean a spacecraft is racing toward at this very moment, all the way to the one tiny moon that is actively spraying its sea into space and letting us taste it. Number 1. Europa. We start with the one you may have heard of, because it's the reason this whole hunt began. Europa is a moon of Jupiter, a little smaller than our own moon, and from the outside it looks like a cracked cue ball, smooth, pale, wrapped in ice and scored with reddish scratches. Under that ice is the ocean, a real one, salt water, liquid, and there's a lot of it. The current estimate is that Europa holds roughly twice as much water as every ocean on Earth put together, squeezed into a moon you could tuck inside the Atlantic. Now here's the question that should stop you. Europa sits 5 times farther from the sun than we do, where sunlight is far too weak to melt anything. So what's keeping that water warm? The answer is Jupiter. Every time Europa loops around the giant planet, Jupiter's gravity stretches it and lets it snap back, over and over, like a stress ball worked in a fist. That constant flexing heats the moon's guts from friction alone. No sunlight required. It's the same reason a paperclip gets hot when you bend it back and forth. We're not guessing from a distance anymore either. In October 2024, NASA launched Europa Clipper, a spacecraft the length of a basketball court. And as you're watching this, it's somewhere out in the dark on a 5.5-year crossing, due to reach Jupiter in April 2030 and swoop past Europa nearly 50 times. But if you think 2 Earth oceans is a lot of hidden water, the moon next door makes Europa look like a puddle. Number 2. Ganymede. Just one step further out orbits Ganymede, and it's not just the biggest moon of Jupiter, it's the biggest moon in the entire solar system. It's actually larger than the planet Mercury. If it orbited the sun on its own, we'd call it a planet without hesitation. And buried inside it may be more water than exists on the entire surface of Earth. But Ganymede's ocean is stranger than Europa's because of the pressure. Go deep enough inside a moon this big, and the weight pressing down gets so extreme that water stops behaving normally. It gets crushed into ice even though it's warm. Not cold ice. Hot, high-pressure ice, forced solid by sheer squeezing. So Ganymede's ocean isn't a simple layer of water under a shell. Scientists think it may be stacked like a sandwich. A layer of ocean, then a layer of that crushed ice, then more ocean, floor after floor going down. Picture an ocean with a seabed made of ice, and beneath that seabed, another ocean. That's the leading model for what's inside the largest moon we've got. And the eeriest part is what sits right beside it. A moon so battered and lifeless looking that for decades nobody bothered to check it at all. Number 3. Callisto. Callisto is the forgotten one. It's the most heavily cratered object in the whole solar system. Its surface is so old and so pounded by impacts that it looks, frankly, dead. No cracks, no fresh ice, no sign anything has happened there in billions of years. It's the moon you'd walk straight past, which is exactly why it's on this list. Because underneath that ancient, motionless crust, the measurements point to a salty ocean too. Callisto is so far from Jupiter that it barely gets any of that gravitational flexing. So the warmth is thought to come from a slow, quiet source instead. The faint heat of radioactive elements decaying deep in its rock, ticking down over billions of years like an ember that refuses to fully die. That's the lesson Callisto teaches, and it changes how you read the rest of this video. A world can look completely dead on the outside and still be hiding a sea. So stop trusting the surface. But every ocean so far has been the same recipe: salt water, under ice. The next moon breaks that pattern completely because it has 2 different oceans at once. Number 4. Titan. Titan is Saturn's largest moon, and it's the only moon in the solar system with a thick atmosphere, a hazy orange sky so dense you couldn't see the stars through it. Deep inside, like the others, it hides a subsurface ocean of water. But that's not the ocean that makes Titan famous, because Titan is the only place besides Earth where liquid actually pools on the surface, real seas, with coastlines, rivers, and rain falling into them. The catch is what the liquid is. It's so brutally cold on Titan, around minus 180 degrees Celsius, that water there is frozen harder than rock. The stuff that flows is methane and ethane, natural gas, the fuel in your stove, kept liquid by the deep freeze. There are lakes of it bigger than any of the Great Lakes. You could, in theory, put a boat on one. So Titan has two oceans, a hidden water ocean far below, and cold hydrocarbon seas right out in the open, under an orange sky, with methane rain drifting down like a slow, freezing drizzle. Everything up to now, though, has been warm enough, barely to make sense of. The next ocean sits somewhere it has absolutely no right to exist. Number 5. Pluto. Fly all the way out to Pluto, and you've left the warmth entirely. Out here, the sun is just the brightest star in a black sky, and the surface temperature drops to around minus 230 degrees Celsius. Cold enough that this little world should be frozen solid, straight through to its core, a dead ball of rock and ice. And yet, when New Horizons raced past Pluto in 2015 and sent back the first close photos anyone had ever seen, it showed us that giant pale heart-shaped plane on Pluto's face, and the shape of it, the way it sits, is best explained by a layer of liquid water still sloshing underneath. An ocean, this far out. How? The leading idea is almost cozy. A thin blanket of frozen gases may be trapping the planet's faint internal heat like insulation in a loft, slowing the freeze so much that after 4.5 billion years, the ocean still hasn't fully set. It's the difference between leaving a cup of tea out in the open and wrapping it in a thick towel. One goes cold in minutes. The other stays warm for hours. Pluto apparently wrapped itself in a towel. But Pluto isn't even the strangest thing this far from the sun. Neptune has a moon that runs backwards. Number 6. Triton. Triton is Neptune's biggest moon, and it does something no large moon should do. It orbits its planet backwards, the wrong way around, against Neptune's own spin. That's the fingerprint of a captured world. Triton didn't form beside Neptune. It was a wanderer from the outer solar system that strayed too close and got caught, yanked into orbit by a planet that was never meant to own it. When Voyager 2 flew past in 1989, the only spacecraft ever to see it up close, it caught something no one expected at nearly 3 billion miles from the sun. Geysers. Dark plumes venting off Triton's surface into space. Proof that this frozen moon is still active, still doing something inside. And that activity points to a subsurface ocean, kept from freezing by a mix of that leftover capture energy and the slow heat of decaying rock. A stolen moon, orbiting backwards, still breathing out plumes at the edge of the planetary system. But the single biggest shock in this entire catalog didn't come from a giant like Titan or a rebel like Triton. It came from the one moon everybody had already dismissed as a lump of dead, cratered ice. A moon that looks like a weapon. Number 7. Mimas. Mimas is small, only about 400 kilometers across, and it has one defining feature. A single enormous crater on one side, so large and so perfectly round that the whole moon looks unmistakably like the Death Star from Star Wars. That crater is a scar from an impact that nearly split the moon apart. And beyond it, the surface is just more craters, edge to edge, ancient and untouched. No cracks, no fresh ice, nothing. By every rule we had, Mimas was a frozen rock all the way through, the textbook example of a dead moon. Then, in February 2024, a team reanalyzing old orbital data from the Cassini spacecraft published something that genuinely stunned the field. They tracked tiny wobbles in how Mimas moves, the way you can tell a sealed egg from a boiled one just by spinning it. And the wobble only made sense if there was liquid sloshing inside. Mimas has a global ocean, 20 to 30 kilometers beneath that solid, unbroken shell. And here's the detail that makes no sense at all. It's young. The ocean is estimated to be only 5 to 15 million years old, a newborn, in a solar system that's 4.5 billion years old. It hasn't even been there long enough to crack the surface above it yet, which means the dead moons we've written off might not be dead. They might just be hiding it better. That's an ocean actively concealing itself. The final one does the exact opposite. It can't stop showing us. Finale, Enceladus. The last one is barely 500 kilometers wide. You could drive across it in a day, and it is, by a wide margin, the best shot we have at finding life beyond Earth. Its name is Enceladus, and it's one more moon of Saturn. Across its south pole run 4 long fractures nicknamed the Tiger Stripes, and out of those cracks, Enceladus is firing enormous geysers of water, real ocean water, blasted straight up through the ice and thousands of kilometers out into space. The plume is so big that the James Webb Telescope recently traced it stretching 10,000 kilometers off the moon, wider than the moon is round. Enceladus is a 500-kilometer snowball hosing its own hidden sea into the void, without end. Now sit with what that means. Every other ocean on this list, we'd have to land, then somehow drill through miles of ice to ever sample. Enceladus hands it to us for free. And in 2015, the Cassini spacecraft did something almost unbelievable. It flew straight through that spray, at thousands of miles an hour, and tasted the ocean of another world without ever touching down. What it found is why scientists can't let this moon go. Salts, like our own seas. Organic molecules, the carbon-based building blocks all life is made from. Molecular hydrogen, which is the real prize, because on Earth that gas is produced when warm water reacts with rock on the seafloor, which means Enceladus almost certainly has hydrothermal vents, hot springs on the bottom of its ocean. And that matters more than anything, because at Earth's deep sea vents, in total darkness, entire ecosystems thrive with no sunlight at all, fed purely by that chemical energy. Then, in 2023, one last piece: phosphates, an essential ingredient for DNA and living cells, found in the spray at over 100 times the concentration in our own oceans. Line it up: liquid water, an energy source, and the exact chemical ingredients life needs. All three confirmed on a tiny moon most people have never heard of. Now for the honest part, because it matters. This is not a discovery of life. Cassini carried no instrument that could tell a lifeless ocean from a living one. It could only prove the kitchen was fully stocked, not that anyone was cooking. And in 2017, with its fuel running low, NASA deliberately flew Cassini into Saturn and destroyed it, to be certain it could never crash and contaminate that ocean with our own microbes. So here's where the whole catalog lands. We started with a famous ocean a spacecraft has to cross the solar system to reach. We end on a moon that is spraying its ocean out to meet us, carrying salt and warmth and the raw ingredients of life, with no one, as far as we know, on the other end. And the strangest truth of all is this: most of the water in our solar system was never on the planets we grew up staring at. It's out there in the cold and the dark, sealed under ice, on moons we only just learned to look inside. For 4.5 billion years, the best real estate for life in this solar system may have been hiding in the last place anyone thought to look: the bottom of a black ocean, under a roof of ice, on a moon with no name in the night sky. And we've barely started counting. If you made it all the way to the moon, spraying its sea into space, comment Enceladus so I know you went the distance, and leave a like to tell the algorithm you surfaced on the other side.